Good. Okay. All right, call to order the Board of Library Trustees meeting for Tuesday, February 21st, 2023. Roll call, please.
Trustee Burrell.
Here.
Trustee Gala.
Here.
Trustee Meta.
Here.
Trustee Rule is currently not here. Trustee Samari.
Here.
Trustee Suplet.
Here.
And President Smith.
Here. All right, it's all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Everybody. Any public comments? None? No, okay, keep going on. Liaison reports. Friends, we have a guest.
Yes.
Woo-hoo.
For those who don't remember, I'm friends. So yeah, we had a pretty good year as you read. Mike read the thing for me because I got stuck at work. So we were able to recommit to the AV upgrade. That was good. Thank you. We were pretty excited about that since we had help the last time. And, we just had our most recent sale, which was just the kids sale. We've had about $2,800. The big news is they were able to report that we're back up to pre-COVID membership levels for over 530 members. So that's pretty good. We had a strong trade. And our next big sale is in April, in April, and we're looking at trying to help figure out how to finance the libraries and everything. So actually, I got some pictures. John, our remember John Westman. He pictures from John Marcel. And it's different between organizations.
Thanks, Brian. Yeah, thanks for everything.
Working great with they've been using the credit card here downstairs for kids selling not a lot.
That's interesting to hear that your membership went down. You have a lot of yearly members. I think you have lifetime membership, but it also
Yeah,
a lot
that's
of yearly before we.
That's like around 100 of those.
Okay.
But they've been really making a big push again. People are like, well, I'm paying to go to the book sale, why am I paying, for a year or so, but it's really gone up. They've been really sending those out stuff. Good. And then we sign up for the volunteer thing too, so. But some presents today.
Great. All right, thank you. Thank you, sir. All right, how about the foundation?
The foundation, they are currently in research mode until April, so they're developing more fundraisers, awaiting the scholarship cutoff and the next steps in that process, and then restructuring the advisory team and working on internal processes. So that is all I have to report from the foundation.
All right, great. So the foundation too, for everything they do. Okay, let's go on to. Let's go on to action item 1, approval of the minutes of the regular board meeting of January 7th, 2023. Do we have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Need a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any comments, questions on this? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And that passes. Okay, let's go to action item 2, approval of the minutes of the joint meeting of the Arlington Heights Village Board and the Board of Library Trustees on February 4th, 2023. We have a motion for that.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second.
Second, okay. Any comments, questions? No? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Passes. Let's move on to action item 3, approval of the minutes of the committee of the whole meeting of February 6th, 2023. Do we have a motion for approval?
I motion that we approve the minutes of the committee of the whole on February 6th, 2023.
Second.
Second, okay. Any comments, questions? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. That passed. All right, go on to item 4, review of the financial report for the period ending January 30th, 2023.
Okay, so as you will see, your revenue and expense report look a little bit different this month. This is a result of our new financial software from the village. I'm going to go through the revenue and expense bullet points, and then I'm going to turn it over to Tracy to give you a little bit more of an update on that. So there were no real estate tax revenue recognized in the month of January, while there was cash collected in January, actually about $3 million from the delayed second installment tax bill. This was actually booked as an adjustment to 2022 for accounting purposes, since that is the period in which the revenue relates. The library received personal property replacement taxes in the amount of $55,312.04 this month. Our copier printer revenue totaled $3,856.31. Lost item charges totaled $1,929.93. There is currently $29,470.41 of interest income recorded to the library's operating fund. However, this will be spread by the village later once they train on the new month-end closing procedures for the new system. So I'll let Tracy talk a little bit about that and what that actually means for that number. Our donations totaled $577.88. The Friends of the Library reimbursed us for $16,732.45. The bulk of this was the 2022 Sunday Musicale performances in the OBOB author visit. Maker Place miscellaneous revenue was $493.05, and our total revenue collected in January was $110,297.11. On the expense side, we are 8% of the way through the fiscal year, and we have expensed 13% of our total operating budget. So as a result, the unfavorable variance to date is $828,852. So that means we're trending behind our budget or over our budget, $828,000. That is due to a lot of those prepaid expenses for annual contracts that we pay early in the year. So things like insurance premiums, stuff like that, that we'll pay at the beginning of the year for the rest. So we'll catch up with that. 0% of the total capital budget has been expensed as of January, as we're just getting rolling on our capital projects. So Tracy is online. Tracy, do you mind talking a little bit about the new revenue and expense report?
Yeah, no, I'm happy to do that. And it may look different on the surface, definitely probably easier to read, but it's actually just the exact same information that you all are used to receiving on a monthly basis. It's actually sorted the same way with the same columns. It's just coming out of the Munis general ledger now instead of the HTE one instead. So if you have the report, and I'm sorry, the page numbers are at the top. If you were like me, I thought it was missing page numbers at first, but there are page numbers up at the top. But you can see that the account number, it starts with the fund on the left, and then it goes by department and then by account, and there's subtotals for each of those things. Very, very similar to what you're used to seeing. If you were really good with the account numbers, you might notice that the account numbers are slightly different, but just very little bit. Same with the descriptions, largely the same numbering convention. And then you'll see this is the current period, the first three columns, and then the next three columns are the year to date. We're obviously looking at January this month, so those numbers are exactly the same. But then going forward, you'll be able to see both a month to date and a year to date number for both budget and actual. And then the last two columns are, again, the same as what you used to seeing, the annual budget, and then the amount of budget we've yet to spend as of the period of the report. So there is a little bit of formatting that's still getting cleaned up. You might see like a number or decimal go to a second line or a percentage go to a second line. We're really reliant on the Tyler employees right now to write these reports for us. We don't even have access to write custom reports. So they're going to keep cleaning those up for us. We will get training on how to write custom reports eventually. We don't have a date for that training yet. Realistically, I'm not 100% certain how that will go in terms of writing new custom reports. From what I've seen of report writing, it looks pretty steep as far as a learning curve, very coding heavy and things like that. But we'll certainly keep you posted on, if there are custom ledger reports that you want to see. We might be able to write them in the future. But right now we'll rely on the Tyler folks to clean up some of that formatting stuff for us. But largely it's just easier to read. The only other thing I'll point out is that personnel expenses right now are not being fed directly from payroll. It's basically a large journal entry that the village is uploading to the Munis general ledger because payroll is still being performed in HTE. But once the HCM module of Munis goes live, which is scheduled currently for July, then all of those personnel numbers will also feed directly into these reports. But that's it. It just looks a little different. It's largely the same as what you're used to.
Very good. Yeah, my old eyes, thank you. Almost reading without glasses.
I have a question about the interest on investments?
Yes. So I don't know the process very well because that's one of the things that the village does for us. I actually would have expected that it would have been 0 this month, in this report as of this date, and then they will spread it to our fund in a couple of weeks when they work on their month end closing process with Tyler, which there's a couple steps they still need to train on, not steps that the library performs, but it's part of what we pay the village to do for us. So I thought it was interesting that that our fund got the big lump of interest, which they will then spread out to the other funds. I would have thought it would have been the other way around, where we would have seen a 0 and then got some later, but.
Well, that's an interesting question, Amy.
So that's good. So are you saying that the $29,470 is going to get spread out throughout the year to throughout the months to other village funds?
Funds, yes, and yes. So later, after this board meeting in the next week or two, there will be less in the libraries fund and then more spread throughout the village funds.
So we should expect that number to change and just at this point kind of disregard it.
Yes, it's too high right now.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, good catch. Any other questions?
I have a general question. So I know last year the, income taxes
Property.
real estate,
Property.
property taxes were all crazy and messed up. Like, are we expecting that this year they'll normalize again and be back on
I
normal?
don't know that we've heard anything from, Tracy, have you heard anything about that, the schedule?
No.
So far, I believe the first
Instead of
is
March
Saturday.
1st, they're gonna be due April.
Oh, so it's still kind of like
It's a month off,
behind.
yeah.
Okay, but only a month.
We haven't gotten our full pay, or have we gotten our full payment yet?
We just received that. Is that right, Tracy, for last year?
Yes. So on your report, page 1, you'll actually see on that first page that real estate taxes the actual number is 0. Well, we did receive cash in January, but this is like an accounting report, right? So that $3 million that we did receive in cash in January, like Mike said, that was booked as an adjustment to the 2022 numbers, which is normal at this time of year with the audit going on. We book late adjustments after the time of that last board meeting. So that's why it looks like none is recognized, but that's because none for the 2023 year has come in yet. All that cash that came in really did relate to the 2022 year. So we want to get that in the correct year.
Gotcha, that makes sense. Okay, thank you. Any other questions, comments, or anything? Okay, let's move on to, that was item 4, right? On to action item 5, review of the check register for the period ending January 31st, 2023.
Okay, I have a few checks to go over here on page 10. Check 100173, the AHML, those are American Express charges in the amount of $94.98. That is for a emergency internal texting service that we use. It's a monthly subscription, and it allows us to send text messages to our staff, the staff that have opted into it. So that we use that in the case of like snow closings, or, weather closings. We use it a lot during COVID, keeping staff up to date on what's happening. So that is one that we are using. Then on page 12, check 100252 to M&J Technologies in the amount of $13,860. That is replacement of outdated Surface tablets with new laptops for our managers. This is a budgeted operating expense separate from the refresh of the staff and public computers, which will come from our capital fund. Page 14, check 100195 to Chadwick Contracting Company in the amount of $10,600. That was for painting the brick colored pedestrian walkway, 2 arrows and stop bars in the parking lot, and also doing the filling of the cracks in the south parking lot. On page 15, check 100254 to Nicor Gas. There's actually, I believe it's 4 checks. Those are monthly payments to Nicor for our natural gas, and they're split up into 2 different invoices because they split the bill by the street that's serviced. So we have 2 entry points, Vale and Dunton, and so that's why those are broken up that way. On page,
Why is that? I'm sorry.
go ahead.
Why are there 4 then?
There's, I believe it's a service charge and then a usage charge. you know, like how you have the line chart and.
So it says a check, but it's one check number, but it's just four different lines that go into that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then on page 19, check 100175 to Authors Unbound Agency in the amount of $3,500. That is for an upcoming youth services event with graphic novelist and author Maria Stavone at Thomas and South Middle Schools, where students will learn about her inspiration in creative processes. And then there are a number of checks throughout that are subscription renewals for 2023. And that's what I alluded to in the previously in the financial report. They do tend to be, some of these checks tend to be higher in January due to the seasonality. So those payments include Time Clock Plus, which is our timekeeping software. That is $9,798. ProQuest, which is for our press reader subscription. They also do other databases that we have. That's in the amount of $10,877. Baker and Taylor for our collection HQ software, that's $9,900. And $10,518 for our Daily Herald microfilm subscription. So there's a number of those annual subscriptions that happen at the front end of the year that I just wanted to point out there.
I have just a question on page 10 and 11. How come there are certain line items that the vendor is listed as the library?
Those are our reimbursement of library funds to like pay our credit card bills. So we'll pay that out and then they'll move money internally to cover those costs. Tracy, do you want to speak more to that in more detail?
Yeah, that's actually the one exception to the rule where now, as an improvement over the check register last month, there's only going to be one check going to each vendor now this month, instead of that weird thing we saw where Amazon got 9 checks last month. We're able to resolve that. The one exception is what you noted as far as the reimbursements to the library. That one, you'll see 3. And like Mike said, one is for our American Express credit card bill, one is for our MasterCard, and then one is for special funds, which is primarily petty cash, but occasionally we might have a special check go out that Mike can sign out of a checkbook we have. So you'll see 3, and those are just distinguished by the vendor number. And what might be easier is at the end of the check register, we include a schedule of those. So we put all the American Express at the end. There's 3 pages at the end for those ones that look like they're being paid to the library.
So when it says the vendor is the library, that means it's our American Express bill. Is that what you're saying? Like,
Yes.
I mean, you list what each line item is. It's,
Mhm.
I was just curious as to why
At the end,
that,
there's 3 different summaries.
Yeah.
There's an American Express, MasterCard, and there's special fund summary.
yeah.
Those are 3 separate funds that we have set up. And so we will pay those, but then we reimburse those funds.
To the
We
library.
write ourselves a check basically or transfer the money.
Yeah.
And that's
Like the one shows on page 10 for $7,395. So that one.
That's
big-
American Express. Yes.
right.
Okay, thank you.
So
And that will tie to the schedule in the back. Yes.
Got it.
You good? Any more questions or comments? Okay, do we have a motion for approval of check register?
I motion to approve the check register for February 21st, 2023
Let's say the amount.
in the amount of, sorry. I'm
It's,
going up.
it's for January 31st.
Oh, okay, for January 31st, in the amount of $901,155.06.
Second,
Second.
any more comments or questions on this? Okay, roll call, please.
Trustee Bernell? Yes. Trustee Gala?
Yes.
Trustee Meadow?
Yes.
Trustee Rule?
Aye.
Trustee Samari?
Yes,
Trustee Supplet?
Aye.
Present.
Yes. All right, we paid some bills. We'll keep going another month. Let's go on to the executive director's report.
Okay, go over a few things in the director's report. On that first page, the Size Up database launches. In January, the library's new subscription to Size Up Arlington Heights launched. Business Services Diane Malik coordinated staff training from the vendor representative and included numerous stakeholders, staff from various library departments, as well as the Village of Arlington Heights staff and Chamber of Commerce representatives. The database gives small business owners the tools to benchmark their performance against competitors in the area, as well as delve into demographic information specific to Arlington Heights in order to optimize their outputs. That's a nice tool for local business. Yeah. I'll try that. On page 2, the mini free library. To continue honoring the legacy of Martin Luther King, Community and Circulation Services partnered with the Friends of the Library to donate and maintain a mini free library for the pad site inside of First Presbyterian Church in Arlington Heights. The Friends donated books and magazines for guests to read, keep, or bring back. Then on page 3, our P&E specialist, Neil Parker and Catalina Shin, our community engagement liaison, organized this year's MLK Day of Service on January 16th, partnering with the First Presbyterian Church in Arlington Heights to donate lunch and dinner for their pad site. 30 members of the community participated in making and packing lunch and a warm dinner for up to 30 pads clients. During these 2 community culinary programs in the Makerspace Kitchen, volunteers prepared sandwiches, mazzaroli pasta, salad, and dessert. Participants overwhelmingly expressed their gratitude to the staff and to the library for hosting this and ask for more opportunities like it in the future. And on page 4, our arcade page, Sunday, January 15th, marked the final day of the Arcade Age exhibit. Staff welcomed 328 arcade fans of all ages to the library for a game over closing event. Over its 8-week stay at AHML, the Arcade Age brought over 13,000 visitors of all ages to the library. During its stay, programs and exhibit specialist Emily Musinski led library staff in hosting 11 programs celebrating the exhibit, from gaming to films and crafts. The wonderful coverage across media outlets, biggest being WGN and WBBM, drove traffic consistently upward across all ages as the exhibit continued. Social media interaction was high, with visitors regularly tagging the library on Instagram, sharing photos of the games and themselves and their families enjoying them. So we gave some numbers, estimated visitors by month, totaling just over 13,000 for the time that the exhibit was here. So we do have some links to media coverage on the library's exhibits webpage. That's ahml.info/exhibits. All right, then on the next page, let's see. Our P&E specialist, Neil Parker, brought local sports history to 30 attendees via a critically acclaimed documentary, The Loyola Project, which features Loyola's groundbreaking championship-winning team, the Ramblers. Previously, this film had only been screened at college campuses. Chuck Wood, sixth man on the Ramblers' 63 championship team, and Jim O'Donnell, sports columnist for the Daily Herald, did an excellent job facilitating the discussion following the documentary. And also on that same page, our info advisors hosted their 8th annual readers party and had 64 attendees gather to celebrate reading. Book list adult editor Donna Seaman presented books she is looking forward to in 2023, including nonfiction, poetry, and fiction. Following Donna's presentation, attendees presented in a genre book fair where they visited different genre tables where info advisors spoke about upcoming titles within their specific genre. And then on page 7, on Tuesday, January 3rd, over 80 customers enjoyed a stuffed animal beach party presented by kids librarian Ellie Richardson. Families and their stuffed animal friends were greeted with festive blaze and then treated to tropical inspired crafts, games, play, refreshments, and music. And then on page 10, which you all have examples of at your seats, our Maker Place branch assistant manager Chris Kruger worked with the communications and marketing department to identify new branded giveaway items for outreach, tours, and other library events. The selected items, a tape measure, screwdriver, and caliper pen, have a great bit of utility for our community makers, along with being a great way to advertise our space. So our Makerspace staff and customers are thrilled with the items, as I hope you are as well. And then on the last page, our senior and accessible services volunteer, Paul Korkendorfer, is the recipient of the Village of Arlington Heights Hearts of Gold Young at Heart Award. Paul was nominated on behalf of the library by our SAS manager, Mary Jo Lipo, for his significant and ongoing contributions to the library's senior technology program. Paul joined the library as a volunteer in 1998. In over the 24 years and 4,300 hours he's contributed as a volunteer. He's taught thousands of senior students and played a critical role in developing classes that provide a foundation for seniors to develop skills essential to everyday life, helping them connect with family and friends, manage finances, shop, and get medical care. Then our community engagement liaison, Catalina Shin, attended Live Learn X, which is ALA's midwinter conference in New Orleans. During 3 days of sessions and speakers, Catalina connected with other library professionals, took seminars related to DEI, community engagement, and outreach. And then our programs and exhibits coordinator, Nikki Camp, has joined the Illinois Libraries Present Events production team. On this team, Nikki will collaborate with members of all ILP committees and perform duties such as preparing questions for authors, speakers, and facilitators, plus managing day of event logistics, including back-end section and reporting. That is it for that part of the director's report. I just want to point out that we've now included the makerspace statistics in your packet with the revised notes that were requested at the last meeting. So if you guys have any questions about that or have any further changes, please let me know. We're happy to adjust them.
So first of all, thank you for making these changes to the paper place dashboard. Looks great. One question about just the regular dashboard. So it says year-to-date library visits are up 39.6%. So is that like this year compared to last year?
Right. At this point.
Okay. Because then what is the 49.3?
So that's the main library. It's up
Oh,
49%.
okay.
If you take all of these different
Okay, so it's
areas.
everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. I was only looking at the top line. Now I see the bold flashing.
No, good question. Good question.
Good question, a good question. Anything else?
Looks good. I think it's really easy to read.
Mhm.
Susan Beckman in our finance department has been kind of our statistics guru, and she's been the one really behind all of this. So just a shout out to Susan for all the work she's put into this, and she's really been open to all the changes and being flexible with it. So I appreciate it.
Cool. Thank you, Susan.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So this is, yeah, this looks great. It's very clear and I like that it's included in its own information. I don't know, and I know that we looked at this a couple months ago. Maybe it's in here and I'm just not seeing it, but like, what did we expect the usage to be of the maker place? We have 50,000 people visiting the library, but only 1,000 people. I'm rounding, okay, but roughly 1,000 people at the maker place, and it is its own separate building, it's its own thing, and I know we're only a year old and a little more, but still kind of working out kinks and stuff like that. And then when you scroll down to the more involved area strictly for the maker space, you can see where the visits are and things like that. But I guess I'm just curious. I guess I thought it would be used more than it is, but I don't know if that is statistically appropriate or if that, I'm just trying to kind of weigh that out.
Yeah, we're kind of in uncharted territory because we don't have anybody that we can look at and say, okay, we're comparing to what this other library is doing because they have something very similar. We compare to other maker places and we're beating those numbers, pretty well. But we do feel that the space could be used, get more people in and use more effectively all the time that we're open. One big thing that's different with the maker place, if you're comparing to the main library, is the amount of time one interaction takes is very different than someone coming in the main library. So while the numbers, may look very different than what you're seeing in the main library, if you look at the total amount of time people are spending there and the output on what they're coming away with, I think it's far, well, I'm not gonna say far more impactful, it's just different. It's a different type of, it's almost like our programming, some programming we have lower numbers, but high impact, and the other ones we have high impact and lower numbers. So it's kind of an offset that way. But Diane Murphy, our new digital services manager, is really working with Chris to streamline some of these things and pull more people in through partnerships and additional programs and stuff like that. So yeah, it is. I feel like we're at a good base level right now. And now we can build up more and more, now that we're a little over a year in.
And one of the things that, being someone who went and used it, it is so very much one-on-one, and it might be interesting to compare the visits. Not of programming to the maker place, but the number of visits to the number of like one-on-ones that we have here in the library. Like that might be an interesting course, correlation to make, just to see what those, how many people are coming in to the library itself for assistance with their resumes, and their one-on-one versus in a program to work on resumes, that might be interesting. And we've talked about before, like, what can we do when the kids are off school? The kids were just off for 5 days, counting the weekend. And, what kind of programming could we be putting in there that would be make your own Pokemon or whatever, just to introduce them to that, even if they're on that younger end, and make it a parent-child program or whatnot. And then, as much as we all want to be in the kitchen, there's so much more that we can do in that space and with it.
Yeah, they're retooling some of the programming, like the essentials programming, and even just how they're marketing them, to show more of, the output, what are they gonna get out of it, rather than describing the equipment that they're gonna be working with. So there are, Dana is working with Diane and Chris, and, they're really looking at a number of different things, different changes now that we have a little bit more experience under our belt, being in it for a year.
Yeah, and when you look at it like a business, you can't always just staff for in case somebody walks in, right? You have to like staff for like having something dynamic happening, or a group project or things like that. So
Yep. Dana, do you want to speak to any of the changes or anything that you?
Well, just want to point out the last 2 months have been double of previous years, so we're
heading in the right direction. No, I'm not trying to throw the baby out with bathwater. It is not negative in any way, shape, or form.
So we think we're doing a pretty good job. We're making some changes to some of the programming, and we've recently been working with other departments to hybridize our programs and invite different, like we had a book discussion there recently where the all new attendees, as well as had a craft part of it.
Awesome.
And it was so incredibly successful that they started creating another session right there, sort of like already plans for the next time, because it's just so well received. So again, these things do take time, and then you find your niche and we'll go for it, but we've definitely been looking at and adding additional staff members, as well as trying to switch things around internally so we can give the support where they need, so we can attract different audiences.
Right. Well, and remember, the makerspace doesn't have the same hours as main library does.
Yeah.
It's open less.
To that point, I'm wondering, have you noticed, because I know they track visitors, if certain days are much more popular or much less popular? I know we keep talking about being open on Fridays, but I'm just curious, even with the days that are open, are there, like, do you notice, say, Tuesdays are our low day or whatever?
There's a lot of ebb and flow in
Yeah.
the programming drives a lot of it.
Yeah.
So I haven't seen it in front, but yeah, the days that we're open, the evenings are very popular.
Andy, your question is one that's, and I know John's asked this one before, it's been one I've heard asked a few different ways over the last 10 years, is what do we compare this to? How do we know that it's successful? And we've always had a hard time figuring out how many people are supposed to be at a certain, like the one book, one village has always been one that steps out to me. It's like we always every year come up with these numbers, and they're impressive numbers, no doubt about it. But what do they compare to? And what would we need to consider this a success? We don't ever know that. We don't ever know exactly where that is. It would be, and I know the world I come from, at least, you would have to have something like that, right? But we don't, so it's always hard to judge what's successful and what's not. But I'm guessing, though, maybe another way to ask this, so you kind of hit on it, is with the makerspace. I'm gonna go on the ledge and assume that the programs that we have, they're usually are probably pretty much sold out, or pretty full. I'm guessing there's very few times where it's sparsely attended.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they're almost always sold out. The only one I think that I heard recently that wasn't was the vinyl cutting, and so they were looking at how they're marketing that. They're marketing in a different way, so it does sell out, but
Right, people don't know exactly what they use a vinyl cutter for, so again, you have to provide some examples so people
Sure.
understand. So we're still trying to fix our language to make sure people understand what they're coming away with.
So when we do have guided things, people are coming and people are using it. So they're filling up to the capacity of what we need. So that should be a good sign.
And I realize my business is separate from the library, but for instance, I just had a book club meet at our studio and make a project based on the book that they had just been reading, right? Which it was their own book club. I'm sure some of them are Arlington Heights residents. I'm sure some of them aren't. But like, that's what's so fun about being in a creative space is that you can take whatever the book may be about and be able to create something around it or about the main character or whatever. And those are like fun things to bring to the table and you can sit there and talk about the characters or the whatever while you're doing the craft or whatever, right? So.
Yeah, my book club has done food before where we cook, you know, if it was a Southern book or whatever, which is kind of fun, although I know the kitchen is doing well, doesn't necessarily need marketing help, but there's probably no bake kind of things that would go with a certain book or whatever.
Yeah, and like, the character's a gardener or they're in
Yeah,
the
that's fun.
Southwest, and so you're gonna, get succulents or something. I mean,
yeah, staff are throwing around all kinds of
Yeah,
ideas that they're working.
Yeah,
I don't know.
the bottom floor I think is really fun. And I'm not sure if people get down there as much, maybe because the top floor is so, there's a lot there.
You'd be surprised. The sewing space is very popular.
Yeah.
I would imagine the sewing space is super popular.
And if you'd like to host one of these programs.
Put your money where your mouth is.
One more question. I actually just noticed this. So, in the Maker Place dashboard, for the fabrication, it's saying there were 122 usages in January, and then that's the same for the print jobs. That seems off, because I know that the laser cutters are getting used too.
Okay, we'll double check that.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just wondering like which one is.
Yeah.
Are they actually separate or?
Where are you? I'm sorry, which? I'm just curious.
So on.
I see the 122 under fabrication. but it's
And then
on
the
page
3D
14.
print jobs is like toward the bottom of the.
Ah,
It's
got it.
a different number though for 2022, so
Oh, interesting.
there might be a contrast.
That'd be weird.
You know what? I think it's just coincidence that they're the same.
Okay.
I think 3D print jobs have come in from outside, people just
Yeah.
printing. Then the fabrication is the actual usage of,
Like
Those machines internally,
doing it,
yeah.
like while you're,
Mhm.
okay,
I think, but we'll verify and maybe get a better description of them.
okay. Yeah, maybe it is just a weird coincidence.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stop looking at it.
Well, even if you look at it later and have other thoughts, feel free to remember.
Yeah, well, that's what it's there for.
Yeah,
I
we
do
wanted
have
to
an
be-
idea for a 3D printing class. I don't know, I'm not the person to teach it, but coming from the background that I do, texture tools are amazing, and I've seen some online where they have 3D printed textures on, basically, they made like a little mini rolling pin that could be used for baking or, like to put a texture in cookies or your pie crust or something, but also for clay. Which it would be kind of cool to have a class where people would learn how to make something like that. And then be able to be able to use them.
Cool. We're your new programming.
Sorry.
Right.
Now, sorry.
All right, very good. Anything else for Mike? Good, all right. Move on to old business, action item 6, authorization of purchase of replacement computers for staff and public use and storage. Doesn't come back here anymore.
Okay. So this is continuation of the discussion from the February committee of the whole meeting. I would ask Rich Dorian, our IT manager, to join us at the table and answer any questions you guys have about this computer purchase, and we did talk about it a little bit So the total for the staff and public computers is not to exceed $174,550, which has our estimate at $174,410. So right in below our budgeted amount. So Rich, you have anything that you'd like to add?
Nothing new since the last time that we discussed that I can think of, unless anyone else had any new questions.
These are all the computer towers, correct? Not the laptops that were mentioned
Correct.
previously.
Yeah, the laptops were for the management team, for staff use, and this is gonna be for everyone's, for all the offices around the building, and then also for all the public use, like the computer lab. And all the stations all around the library as well.
When, I know I asked the question the other day about the recycling and what we're gonna be doing and stuff, but when I was walking around Kids World, before I came up there, I was looking at some of the monitors that they have down there, and they look new. So are things like that gonna be getting replaced also?
No, we're not doing monitor replacement.
No monitor replacements, okay. Okay, just make sure I understood that.
With monitors, we kind of do those on an as needed basis, so if staff need to connect to one or one goes down, we'll kind of just add on, maybe 10 or 15 a year.
Okay.
But we haven't really done like a mass update for quite some time.
It's not as critical to have all the monitors the same, at the same specs.
Yeah.
As it is with the computers.
Gotcha. Okay.
We seem to have more different use cases for monitors. Some people want one big ones, some small square rectangles, so it's like, it's hard to just buy them all in bulk.
Yeah, got it. Got it. Okay, any more questions or comments? Okay, do we have a suggested motion here? Do we have a motion for approval?
I move Board of Library Trustees authorizes staff to purchase replacement computers for the Windows 11 operating system software for staff and public use, the total amount not to exceed $174,550.
Did you get that? You picked one, okay, good. Okay, roll call please.
Trustee Burrell?
Yes.
Trustee Gal? Yes. Trustee Meadow?
Yes.
Trustee Rule?
Aye.
Trustee Samari?
Yes.
Trustee Peppler?
Aye.
President Zip?
Yes. All right, let's go on to action item 7, approval of the 2023 Illinois Public Library Annual Report. Big water of 2022.
Okay, so we discussed this at the February Committee of the Whole. There were a couple changes that came out of that. There was a question at the Committee of the Whole about the age of facility and what was included in there. It was the senior center, the library, and the maker place. We actually removed, after thinking through this internally, talking about the discussion we had at the Committee of the Whole, we ended up removing senior center because it's not our facility. And we now just have the main library and the maker place represented in the 51 to 100 year category. So that has been updated. And then the registered users, I also highlighted here in just, there was a question about how often we purge them. We do purge inactive registered users every 3 years. Registered users include residents who reside in our legal service area and are attached to library service. So just to clarify what that number represents. And then since the packet went out, we did have another 2 changes that we recognize after the fact. With that change of the facilities, if you look at page 8 and 9 on the revised version that you had at your seat, there is the type of work needed and the type of work in process. We had headquarters, number of buildings, 1, and then under other facilities, number of buildings, we had identified as 2 because we had considered 2 other buildings in that H facility section. We reduced that to 1. We missed that on the copy that you received for this in this packet. And then on the next page, let's see, section 8.1, local governance. That first point there, it was in the version that went out in the packet, it did not include that $3 million that Tracy and I were talking about earlier that came in, the cash amount that came in, and that came in after this went out to you guys. So we wanted to recognize that in the IPLAR report. So that is now included. It's in 8.1 and then 8.17. 8.17 is just total revenue. So it's just reflected there. So I just wanted to point out those changes since you last saw it. Everything else remains the same. But I, of course, would take any questions that you guys have.
Any questions on that one? Okay, can we have a motion for approval for this?
I move that the Board of Library Trustees approves the 2023 Illinois Public Library Annual Report for 2022.
Second.
Okay, got a second. Any more comments or questions on that one? Your roll call on that, please.
Trustee Burrell,
Yes.
trustee Bauer,
Yes.
trustee Meadow,
Yes.
trustee Rule,
Aye.
trustee Samori,
Yes.
trustee Stuckett,
Aye.
president Sick.
Yes. All right, very good. IPLA report done. Let's move on to action item 8, approval to pride flag and honor Pride Month in June 2023.
Okay, so this was also discussed at February Committee of the Whole meeting, bringing it back for continued discussion and for approval. This was submitted by trustee John Suplet. We received the background information at the Committee of the Whole. I did attach the policy 7.007, use of flags on library property here for your reference if needed. So we'll look to discuss.
Comments, questions on that one? Okay, we have a motion for approval.
Well, I'll move that the Board of Trustee approves the flying of the Pride flag in honor of Pride Month in June 2023 in accordance with policy 7.007, use of flags on library property.
A second.
Now, any more comments or questions on that one? Okay, roll call on that, please.
Trustee Burrell,
Yes.
trustee Bauer,
Yes.
trustee Meadow,
Yes.
trustee Rule,
Enthusiastic, yes.
trustee Samori,
Yes.
trustee Stuckett,
Aye.
and president Sick.
Yes. All right, let's move on. We have no new business. So I guess we're moving on to other, couple things. One that says down here, purchase of Arlington Park racetrack by the Chicago Bears, and the reason to put this on here. Obviously, it's something that's becoming much more of a topic here. And want to kind of get everybody's view on how you feel the library should position themselves. John. So Mike and I have had some conversations regarding those, but before I kind of put my 2 cents, I'm kind of curious if anybody has any thoughts on where they want to see the library go or how they want to approach this.
Well, I think following the village and, the 17 governing bodies that have some input. I mean, I don't think we want to give tax breaks necessarily to the Bears or the NFL, but we also recognize that, this would be great for our community, and they've already signed the contract, which doesn't mean it's going to happen, but I mean, I guess I don't know that we need to hire our own lobbyist. I think the village is doing diligence. I think this is going to take a long time before anything really happens too.
Yeah, my thought was in the conversation we had is, you brought up what, 214 and
211.
211.
No, 211's not right. 214 and
The elementary schools.
yeah,
15.
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah,
25 and 15.
and they're talking about, lobbies, and you bring that point, and one thing that Mike and I talked about is that they're going to have, if it goes way, one of the plans that we've heard, there's a whole bunch of people are gonna move into there, and they're gonna have a whole influx of kids into their systems. So that's gonna affect things. And Mike, correct me if I'm wrong in any of this, but one of the things we talked about is when it was there, we had the backstretch, we were already supplying resources to that. Sure, there could be more that we have to do, but we feel that within the scope of what we're doing, we should be fine as far as the resources go. Yes.
I just want to add something. Do we collect impact fees
Yes.
Like
for all new construction?
development, yeah.
Well, then we would be getting impact fees for residential.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me verify that. Tracy, can you verify that we receive impact fees for new development? We get land, I believe it's called cash in lieu of land.
Yes,
That's
that's
the same thing.
Yeah, I don't know, I haven't heard that term before, but yeah.
I believe it's the same.
And what, that is there's no law for it, but it, you know, the municipality village does it out of the goodness of their heart. And, you know, it is, what it's for is getting the money, because when they pull the permits, that's when these fees are collected. The library should be getting it. And, before tax receipts come in. So in other words, you're serving people before tax receipts come in. And so that's what the impact fees are for. But, the formula that's used in Elgin is, you know, how many bedrooms, you know, I think they use that pretty much, single family compared to, and it seems like probably what they're going to be building over there is multi buildings, you know, not single homes. Doesn't sound like, I don't know. But that's important, that's very critical, and I would make sure that's all in place. So,
Yeah, I think one of the things.
with the village, you know, that would be working with the village on that, yeah.
Oh, John, yeah, do you have something?
Yeah, you know, to remember the issue that motivated this was the fact that the Bears were requesting a property tax freeze of 40 years. As part of the consideration for what was going to take place. And that's what spurred the school districts to hire their own lobbyists. And while we might not be able to afford hiring old lobbyists, I think we definitely have to designate somebody to be the point person to track what it is that's taking place and reporting back on a regular basis. And that can be done internally. Mike can establish that relationship internally, but what's critically important is that we are at the table and not on the menu. And I don't think if we are tracking these issues in a very dedicated and deliberate way, we'll lose focus on what's happening and can very easily find ourselves carved out.
Well, I think we do have to remember that we are part of the village. We are not a district, we're not our own taxing body. And so therefore we have to be in concert with the village. We really do. We're not like a park district or school district where we're our own corporate authority. We're not. And so
and whether that's our own corporate counsel or not, I mean, that's certainly a likely person to just be able to, as Carol's saying, collaborate with the village attorney to make sure that we are current on everything that's taking place without having to endure in the cost of a lobbyist. And if you saw those prices, those are serious.
Yeah, interesting. And I think you know the point that you made, and it was all good conversations that what did you say, John? Be at the table and not on the menu or something like that. Yeah, we definitely have to be at the table. And I think one of the things that Randy talked about during our joint meeting was that we already are in being included in some of the conversations, correct?
Yep, yeah, we were already in meeting with the Bears Council in the village, and all the other taxing bodies were invited to participate. The village has been very transparent with us, I feel, and keeping us up to date on what's happening.
Is that like a set group that's going to be part of that, or is that just kind of like a one-time thing? Hey, the Bears Council's coming, you know, come on over.
This was kind of an introductory meeting, but Randy has told us that we'll be included in further conversation with this. And this is something that the village is not negotiating in a vacuum. They're getting input from all of us in this process. So
Okay.
I do feel like we'll definitely not only be in the loop on what's happening, but have a voice in it. And it is going to be a long process. It's not something that's going to happen anytime soon.
So I know when we met with had the joint meeting with the village, they talked about, you know, talking with Randy talking with other village managers. Have you reached out to other libraries in like Foxborough or?
I am not, but that's a good idea. We can
Just to
reach out to
see,
them and
like,
see, yeah.
are there any like gotchas or, you know?
It's good.
Yeah.
It's good.
When we had that meeting, they had presented a few other stadiums that were built in similar type of environments, cities, towns, suburbs. And that would be good to talk to the libraries in those areas to see what they did to protect themselves, what they would do again, what they would look out for and maybe do differently.
So it sounds like Albert been very forthcoming in other areas where this is happening, so. Worth a try.
That's a good job.
Well, and one would think, so the last few years of the racetrack, unfortunately, were probably not its most lucrative.
Last year has to be,
Yeah,
they
so
charged through the nose for everything.
I'm thinking
I
that
know, I went.
that piece of land, you know, the tax revenues that will come from it will be significantly
Should be.
more, right? So I guess how long it takes to get to that point is really critical. But it's not, it wasn't the number one village, you know, taxing or tax brought in what, $3.5 million? Right, so, I mean, it could be really significant,
Mhm.
but I mean, it's really to be known, how many buildings are they gonna build for housing, you know, are they gonna have super high-end condos or townhouses?
And I think that's something that is not yet determined and probably won't be. I mean, if what most likely will happen is that if there's gonna be a stadium, that the other 2/3 of it, you know, they'll build a stadium on 1/3 of it and they'll sell off the other 2/3. And the village needs to, you know,
Oh, I
have
don't think
its,
so. I think that. No, I think.
to the developers.
No, the village already put that into place. They did not want that pieced out, you know,
Right.
those were very specific. They did not want 10 developers going and buying that property. They
Right.
really did their due diligence as far as what we will accept, what we.
They wanted.
What we won't
they wanted
accept.
to look
There-
the same and do the
There,
same.
there actually was a concept, you know, when they had that meeting in Percy,
Yeah.
you know, of where housing would be, because I was surprised where I thought they put the stadium by the train station, but no, they're talking about housing by the train station and the stadium in that northwest area, kind of like the back lot, I guess.
Yeah.
Basically
Yeah,
right against the highway.
yeah,
So that there's
exactly.
better
They're trying to get as
access.
far
Right.
away from the existing, the current homes that are there, is what I felt.
Okay.
Even though it's still gonna be loud, I'm gonna be able to hear, we're all probably gonna be able to hear from our homes, but.
Well, and sometimes, you know, I know, what is it, what's the stadium in St. Louis, Bush? It's
Yeah,
right there by the highway.
Yeah. All right, very good. Anything else? Just thought kind of, let's get the conversation started. I know we're way far away, but at least to make sure that's on everybody's mind. You know, that
I think
we're
just
taking-
being in touch with the village.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that we're
close
keeping-
contact with the
And want to make
village.
sure that there wasn't anything that anybody particularly wanted to do. Okay, good.
I agree with that. I don't remember if it was John or I don't remember who said it, but having a key person who's like, this is what, you know, this is part of your job,
Mhm.
right? Like this, we need to know what's going on. To make sure that we're just keeping up with it and it doesn't, oh, I thought he was paying attention, I thought she was paying attention, or thought they were.
Oh, I think the village is all over it.
Oh, I'm sure they are, but will they remember us?
Yeah.
That's the part.
They won't.
All right, very good, good conversation, thank you. The only thing I was gonna bring up is, I just wanna, one of my favorite things on Mondays is when the grapevine comes out. Okay, I love seeing, you know, some of the good things that we're talking about here, for this month, the February culture leaders, which is obviously very important. It's great that we're talking about and shouting out to the people who are doing good things. And these stories are always really great to read, it makes you feel good. One of the things I like that we're doing, we always do the years of service at the staff day, and I hope we're still gonna do that, because that's always like one of the best presentations, during staff day. But you look at this and how long some people have been here, it is just. And I'm gonna read out some of these things, going through the people who've been here for a long time, 20 years. I'm gonna butcher some of these names and I apologize. But 20 years, Mary Jo Leppo, Gabe Sanchez, then 25-year Laura Dacus. Wait, what's this one? Yeah, Jennifer Rovick, 25 years, so congratulations, that's incredible. Jen Nitch, Sue Sullivan, and then 30 years, Nancy Saletti, so congratulations to everybody. I mean, that's just fantastic. 30 years, 20, 25, 30 years being here and dedicating to this community and this library. That's a great thing. You'd be putting it every month now, right?
Yeah, right, and we'll be recognizing those people at the open mic meetings. One of the things that we decided to change this year is recognizing people closer to when their actual anniversary is, because a lot of that, there may be somebody that won't be recognized until, it could be 16, 18 months afterwards, because it's by the year, and so in that, before we plan for that staff day, they don't get in until the following year, so we wanted to make it a little bit closer to when their anniversary was. So this first one we're catching up with everybody from last year, and then we'll be doing it monthly going forward.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds good. All right, that's all my other, anybody have any other?
I have a couple others.
Oh,
You all got an email about this, but your library is the best chili
Oh, yeah.
place in Arlington Heights. So Tracy Sarah put together a recipe, and Chris Kruger also put together a recipe. We had 2 entries, meat and meatless, and took first place for both. We took first place for veggie chili, and then we took best overall for Tracy. So congratulations to Chris and Tracy. Tracy, do you want to say a few
For
words?
dinner here.
Right? Yeah.
Very hungry.
Me too.
it's Tuesday, we should be having.
Yeah, right.
Tracy, do you want to say a few words as, like a victory speech?
No, I have a plaque in my office. I cannot believe it. Chris did all of the planning. So I think his recipe was amazing. Mine is shockingly easy. So I think it's great that we won and could have some bragging rights over the restaurants. It was a ton of fun.
And then we also had a team go to the Historical Museum's annual trivia contest, and we took second place, beat out by another team only by 1 point. So
Who
close.
was it?
I don't even know who the first place was. I wouldn't want to give him the attention. Anyway.
No.
But so second place there. So just a few more things to be proud about with your library. So
We would always lose our Literacy Connection, which is housed in our library, and they would have a trivia. That was a fundraiser for them. And it always seemed we would lose out to Judson College. And the librarian on Judson was also on the board, I think, of Algonquin. And she wound up on Jeopardy.
Oh, wow. Oh, geez.
So, it's tough to beat.
Serious competition.
Yeah.
Right.
So again, thanks to our friends. Our friends give us a sense of community grant basically every year that we can use for community promotional partnerships and things that we wouldn't normally use library funds for. So those are a couple of things that our friends sponsor. So thank you.
It's nice. Yeah.
Then one other thing, I sent out an email this afternoon about pronoun usage in the library. We're standardizing how we display pronouns on name tags and in the email signature, also our employee directory. So if you as trustees would like updated name tags with your pronoun, completely optional, totally personal decision, you can just let me know and we'll have one made up for you. Also, I sent you a link to the template creator for the new signature line for your email. Let me know if that doesn't work. I haven't tried it externally, but you should be able to log in and utilize that template maker or the signature maker. So if you want to update your signature, you can. In there, there's the option to include your pronouns as well. That's all I have.
Good. Anything else, anybody? Okay, how about a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Do a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Bye.
Nay. All right, thanks, John.
Good night, John.
All right.
Safe trip home tomorrow.